Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Tom Hutchinson. I'm Deputy Mayor, as well as the Chair for the Committee of Adjustments. Item number one is we're going to call the meeting to order. This is the March the 4th, 2025 Committee of Adjustments meeting. And we do have a quorum. We do have a couple of, one member in regrets. Sorry, it's Councillor Member Shea is away at another activity today. So it is 2:00 for this meeting. We are going to be using both audio and video. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the West Grey website at www.westgrey.com. The technology for this meeting is being managed by the West Grey staff. Or please refrain from clicking buttons during the meeting unless prompted. And before we continue, I'm going to ask Communications Coordinator Ms. Noble to provide an overview on some of the other key points for the meeting. Ms. Noble, please.
Thank you. And through you, Chair Hutchison. Before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both member of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to myself, West Grey Communications, and I will attempt to assist you. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is taking place across two meeting platforms, both on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom and cannot be done through YouTube at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Noble. Item number two is the purpose of the meeting. Planner Smith, please provide your comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Purpose of today's Committee of Adjustment meeting is to present three consent applications. Consent application number B21-2024, Martin Brubaker, 142339 Gray Road 9. Consent application B02-2025, 311050 Highway 6 for an easement in Mount Forest boundary. And B03 and B04, Boer Camp Care Davidson, 521106, concession 12 NDR. The public meetings will allow interested members of the public the opportunity to ask questions or to offer comments regarding an application. A sign notifying the public of an application was posted on the subject properties and circulated via mail to those persons within 60 meters of the properties and to prescribed agencies as required by the Planning Act. A public registry is available here in the council chambers for those attending a public meeting in person who wish to make a comment or ask questions on an application. As noted by our communications coordinator, Ashley Noble, participation in a public meeting can also be done online. Recent changes to the Planning Act restrict the right to appeal a decision of the Committee of Adjustment to prescribed persons and agencies. Neighboring properties no longer have the right to appeal any decision of the Committee of Adjustment. If you wish to receive notice of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment on any application presented today, please provide your name and mailing address to the municipality of West Grey in writing. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. And that takes us to number three, disclosure of interest. Many members have anything to declare at this time, which I believe we do have one declaration to acknowledge. Go ahead, Councilor Member Hutchison.
Yeah, just like to declare a conflict of interest on B21-2024 due to the one of the objectors to the application has a relationship with my grandson in terms of coaching. So I'm going to step aside on that one.
Thank you, Member Hutchinson, and that's been filed with the clerk. Again, if there's any other declarations, they can be declared now or at any time during the meeting if it shall arise. Item number four is the approval of the minutes. And under 4.1, that would be the approval of the minutes from the February the 4th Committee of Adjustment hearing, 2025. And the recommendation would be that the Committee of Adjustment hereby approves the minutes of the February 4th meeting as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Thank you, Member Townsend, and Member Eccles has seconded. Comments or questions, errors, omissions from the committee? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor, please, if you could just raise your hand. I see all members are in favor. There's none opposed. That motion has carried. So moving along, we are on to the first application. Again, we have three today. Item number 5. Again, Member Hutchison has declared an interest, so he'll be departing at this time. We still have quorum with the members in attendance. That is application number B21-2024 142-239 Gray Road 9. 5.1 is going to be a report from the planning staff, and I'm going to ask Planner Smith if you could just please make your comments now, and anything that's been included received up to the start of this meeting, if you could include in that, that'd be great. Planner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, B21 2024 applications for Martin and Brubaker planning consultant loft is a revised application. B21 2024, the application before the Committee of Adjustment was deferred at the February 4th, 2025 parcel size is 110.
Okay. For those attending virtually, we're just a little technical error. We're getting back up here, so just bear with us, please.
Thank you. On the screen before committee and available to the member persons online is the revised application showing the uh, 40-hectare property. Property is designated as agriculture and hazard in the Grey County official plan. There's an aggregate resource area constraint, a significant wetlands constraint on the property, on the lots also. The 40-hectare severed agricultural lot will have regard to Grey County official plan for newly created agricultural lots. The 40-hectare severed, sorry, my mistake. The 40-hectare severed agricultural lot will have regard to the Grey County official plan for newly created agricultural lots. This 40-hectare agricultural lot will meet the lot area minimum requirement to the West Grey zoning bylaw. The lot is subject to Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority regulated areas in part, and there would be a dwelling and farm buildings on both the severed and retained agricultural lots in the future as proposed. Previous report was provided and the linkage was provided to the Committee of Adjustment in your package. Comments from agencies. The application was submitted to the standard commenting agencies. West Grey Public Works, no concern. West Grey Building has no concerns. The County of Grey comments. This is an excerpt from the county planning comments on application B2124 dated February 21st, 2025. The proposed severance would create a new 40-hectare agricultural lot. The new lot would be considered to be farm size. Therefore, county staff have no concerns. Proposed severance is considered to be farm size and would be permitted within the aggregate resource area. Therefore, county planning staff have no concerns. It is Grey County staff's opinion that the potential impact on natural heritage would be negligible and the requirement for a scoped environmental impact study can be waived. County Transportation Services have reviewed the subject application and have no concerns. Provided positive comments are received from the Conservation Authority. County planning staff have no concerns with the subject application. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, SPCA staff find the proposal to be acceptable. Part of the proposed development is within the SPCA regulated area and will need permission from the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority if any buildings or structures are permitted or proposed within that area. Comments from the public. All written comments received as of February 24th and since that date when this application was uploaded to your email are included in an attachment to the report. I won't go through those particular comments at this time. Again, the background, we're proposing a severed of 40.0 hectares, part lot 26, concession 10, and a retained of being part lot 27 and lot 28 being 69.8. There's an existing house, barn, and shed on the lot to be severed. There are no buildings or structures on the lot to be retained. Most of the parcel is farmland or forested. West Grade Committee of Adjustment held a public hearing on consent file B 2024 on February 4th, 2025. Committee of Adjustment deferred a decision on that file at that time. Following documents have been submitted in by law planning in support of the application. In this particular case, an amendment to the application B-21-2024 dated February 19th, which proposed a revised or amended hectarage, which brought it up to the 40 hectares, which is before the Committee of Adjustment today. An addendum to the planning justification report dated November 19th, a planning justification letter dated July 19th, 2024, an agricultural study prepared by Beacon Environmental dated 2024-06-24, and a farm business plan prepared by Loft Planning. Reviewed the application regarding the Planning Act, RSO 1990's amendment. The applicants may amend their application, and this is in terms of the amendment to the application itself and how that is reviewed under the Planning Act. The applicants may amend their application at any time prior to West Grade Committee of Adjustment giving or refusing to give the consent. Section 53, 4.2.1, amendment to application consents to the Planning Act reads, an application may be amended by the applicant at any time before the council or the ministry gives or refuses to give a consent. West Grade Committee of Adjustment may impose such terms on the amended application as the committee considers it appropriate. Section 53, 4.2.2 terms consents. If an application is amended by the applicant, the council may impose such terms as the council considers appropriate, including terms A, requiring the provision of additional information and material in relationship to the amendment, and B, specifying the time period referred to in section 14, whether or not that has begun or not. That particular clause is in relationship to appeal periods by the applicant in terms of when they can appeal a decision not having being made. There is no requirement in the Planning Act to provide additional notice or another public meeting when an application is amended. It is at the sole discretion of the Committee of Adjustment to determine whether additional terms, i.e. another public meeting, are to be imposed on the application. In the opinion of myself, the Manager of Planning and Development, the revision of the application from a 38.6 hectare consent application to a 40 hectare consent application is minor, and therefore no additional terms would be required. And that would be my recommendation in this particular case. The test of a consent. In determining whether a provisional consent is to be given, the Committee of Adjustment shall regard to matters under Section 5124 of the Planning Act. What happens under Section 5124 is that it sends you back to another section of the Act. The Act is tied together in terms of consents. So what we do is we start off at 5312, powers for consent. A council, in determining whether a provisional consent is to be given, shall have regard to matters under Section 5124 and has the same approval powers as the approval authority under 5125. Subsection 5124 of the Planning Act provides criteria to which regard shall be held, such as 5124, in considering a draft plan of subdivision. In this particular case, you substitute the words consent for plan of subdivision. That's the way the Act is set up. Regard shall be had, among other matters, to the health, safety, convenience, accessibility for persons with disabilities, and welfare of present and future inhabitants of the municipality, and to the effect of the development on the proposed subdivisions a matter of provincial interest, whether the proposed subdivision is premature or in the public interest, whether the plan conforms to the official plan and adjacent plans of subdivision, if any, the suitability of land for the purposes to which it is to be subdivided, if any affordable housing units are to be proposed, the suitability of proposed units for affordable housing. What we're seeing here is that the Planning Act, when it looks at consents, gives you the same criteria for a subdivision in reviewing a consent. It sends you back and says, when you're reviewing a consent, the same criteria that you use for a plan of subdivision, since the consent is a mini subdivision, should be used at the same time. There are a further 9 general criteria to which the Committee of Adjustment shall have regard to. I didn't include them in this particular case. Other things such as access to highways, whether or not you can have enough room for a septic system or well. We didn't include all the other 9 in the review in this in your report. Shall regard to. So the Planning Act says, in considering a draft plan of subdivision, regard shall be had to. That is the test. Regard shall be had to. Okay. Regard Shall have regard to does not mean absolute adherence to. The Planning Act has a whole bunch of different words and places in terms of tests. And in terms of a consent, shall have regard to is not the same as absolute adherence to a set of rules. Okay? The preamble of section 5124 makes it clear it is up to the approval authority, the West Grade Committee of Adjustment, to decide what is relevant to their decision. Section 5124 requires the Committee of Adjustment to have regard for various matters, but does not mandate conformity with an official plan. As to conformity with an official plan, the criteria list only requires that consideration be given to whether the consent conforms to the official plan, and not that the consent must conform. We are venturing into planning law. However, planning law is part of what the Committee of Adjustment has to take a look at when they are reviewing various applications. That is the reason why we included these particular sections in this particular planning report, so that you are aware of, the various tests that you are expected to apply to this particular application, or to all consents in that matter, not to this particular one. Where do we get this information? Well, this information is from a lawyer in Ontario by the name of Trustier. Okay. He is a King's Counsel, formerly known as the Queen's Counsel, and has an Ontario Law Society medal. He is an expert in planning, municipal planning law in Ontario. And these comments and direction or interpretation come from this particular individual. Within your planning report, the items shown in blue for thing links the application to that gentleman's biography at the website, at the law firm that he works for. In terms of provincial planning statement, PPS to 2024, we have reviewed the application in regards to the natural heritage policies, the agricultural policies, the mineral aggregate resource policies, and the natural heritage policies. And in that regard, it is the opinion of the manager, myself, that the consent is consistent with the provincial planning statement. In terms of the Grey County official plan, we reviewed it against section 5231, agricultural area minimum lot size requirements, agricultural area minimum distance separation requirements, aggregate resource area minimum lot size requirements, the hazard lands policies, the significant woodlands policies of the official plan. And it's my opinion that the consent conforms to the policies of the Grey County official plan as proposed in front of you. In terms of the West Grey official, zoning bylaw, the lands are zoned A1 and natural environment. The A1 zone sets a lot area minimum of 40 hectares. Proposed severed and the retained lot meet the minimum lot to area requirements of the bylaw. The A1 zone sets a front yard minimum of 20 meters for residential and accessory buildings. The dwelling on severed lot 1 has a existing front yard of approximately 5 meters and would generally be considered to have a legal non-conforming status, considering how long the building has been on the property and that it predates the bylaws for Normandy. The current zoning bylaw amendment, concurrent zoning bylaw amendment application has been submitted for proposed reduced front yard minimum. A condition requiring a zoning bylaw amendment or a minor variance in this particular case to be enforced has been included in the provincial consent. It is my opinion that provided a zoning bylaw amendment or a minor variance is approved and enforced, that the consent maintains the intent and purpose of the West Grey zoning bylaw and represents good planning. In that regard, is my recommendation that the Committee of Adjustment accept the recommendation made in the planning report. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. Excuse me. That takes us on to item number 5. Excuse me, 5.2 verbal comments. So there's 2 parts to that. First one's the committee comments, then we'll follow that with the under 5.2.2 public comments. So committee members, do you have any questions or? Oh, there we go. Member Noon, go ahead, please.
Okay, this is for Planner Smith. Under your staff report on page 3, under the background, you itemize the severed lot and the retained. But under the severed lot, you have part lot 26 concession 10, 40 hectares. In order to increase it to the 40 hectares, it's part of lot 27 as well. And it's noted, and I found that it's not noted as part lot 27 as well, with that parcel that is being proposed for severance.
You are correct. It should read part lot 26 and part lot 27. You are correct.
Any other comments from the committee? Well, if I could, I just want to, for clarity, if I may, through myself to obviously to Planner Smith, just reading it. Furthermore, the applicants also failed to advise the COA that they purchased the subject property knowing that the current situation and fully realizing that the severances may not be available. That's fine. But it says registered on title is a shared use agreement. Could you explain what that means, shared use on title, please?
We did not review any of those legal documents in terms of their appropriateness for this particular application. From what I understand is that shared use is between the two parties and has no bearing per se on a decision of whether or not a consent can be given under the Planning Act. So I did not review them, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so any other comments or questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, then we will move that on to 5.2.2, public comments. First off, I'm going to go to Ms. Noble. I'm going to see if anybody has any comments virtually. If you just indicate somebody has a comment. And if so, we'll get them on. Good afternoon and welcome. See who does it. Oh, that's Mr. Scriven. If you could just state your name for the record, please, and the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So Bob Scriven, I'll keep it very brief.
Sorry, your mic's not on there. All right. Did you
Is
try?
that any better?
No, do a test. Not yet.
Just hang on. I'm going to exit and come back in.
Not yet. Is it on our side, Ms. Noble? Just hang on there, Mr. Scriven. We're going to make sure that the technical's not on our end.
Is that any better?
Where'd you go? Oh. Should I ask for a test now? Go ahead. You want to do a test or the screen backed off there? Yeah. The days of modernization.
Can you hear me now?
Not yet, Mr. Scriven.
I've been using. Okay.
Try that now, Mr. Scrivens.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Yes, sir. Welcome. The floor is yours, sir.
No, I apologize. I apologize for that. If it was at my end. Look, this is the third time around. We have outlined our concerns, and I'll just make 4 very brief comments. We are simply looking for consistency and fairness. And that consistency and fairness, as we have outlined several times, is 2 other families prior to the sale of this property were turned down for severances. Second, as outlined by Councillor Noon, there are agreements, and Councillor Hutchison, there's shared use agreements. The applicants knew that a severance very well may not be in the cards. Third, and I think also very importantly is, as pointed out by Councillor Noon, there's no survey, there's no description, there's no legal opinion that we can bite off a portion, and we don't know how much, of lot 27. And I guess I'll leave it with this, because I don't want to belabor the points that we've made already. Consistency and fairness is really important, and the decision is entirely the Committee of Adjustments, not the county, not roads, not anything. It's your decision if this makes good planning sense or not, and I respectfully submit it does not.
Any closing comments, Mr. Scriven?
No, just thank you, everyone, for your time and attention to this.
No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that because of the little technical difficulties, we didn't cut you off. So anyways, thank you. Thank you for that presentation. Ms. Noble, is there anybody else online that virtually that would like to participate before we turn to the public here in the audience? No? Okay, so we'll turn the application to anybody in the public that's in attendance that would like to speak to the matter. Absolutely. Go ahead and I think you know how to work that mic. Maybe just state your name for the record and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Loft with Loft Planning, and I am representing the applicants Martin and Brubaker. Planner Smith has given a very good overview of the staff report. So I will be brief. So what is before you is an amended application. We have increased the lot area to meet the 40 hectares as was raised at the last public meeting. The Planning Act does allow for an amendment to the application, and Planner Smith did identify that section 53, subsection 4.2.1, which allows any change to an application prior to a council or tribunal decision. So we certainly and hazard, and the lands are zoned agricultural A1 and the natural environment NE. Variance is required, as Planner Smith has recognized, for the reduced front yard for the existing building, and we accept that as a condition of the approval. The county has provided the sign off with regard to the consent policies as well as the aggregate policy. And lastly, just in reviewing the Scriven letter, there was discussion about the Land Registry Office and whether the Land Registry Office would accept a reference plan. And so, as you know, you're each council members, you know that this decision is your decision and not the Land Registry Office decision. And in my 25 years, I've never had the Land Registry Office not accept a reference plan after a decision of a council or a committee. And so those are my comments. I'm brief just because Planner Smith gave a full overview. In terms of the comments that Mr. Scriven just raised, we are not aware of any previous severance application, so I'm unsure of what he's speaking to. In that case, I don't believe that the committee has ever heard a previous consent application. With regard to the shared use agreement, that is simply a use. There are 3 owners to the property, and that's fairly typical that there would be a shared use agreement that's registered on title. It has nothing to do with the municipality and is certainly not something that's before you. And number 3 was, again, the comment about the reference plan, and Mr. Scriven had commented that we have not prepared a reference plan. And we almost never prepare reference plans ahead of a committee decision. It's a costly endeavor. And until we know that we have a committee decision, we would not certainly retain a surveyor to prepare the reference plan. And lastly, he just spoke about consistency and fairness. And in my opinion, that's not the test that's before you. And I think Planner Smith has given a very thorough review throughout his planning report and what the actual tests are through the Planning Act, and he's thoroughly went through that. And so just lastly, thank you for your time. Thank you to staff time. And we would simply conclude that it is the committee's decision alone in deciding on this consent application. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Loft. Is there anybody else in attendance here in the chambers that would like to speak to this matter? Okay, seeing none. Ms. Noble, I'll circle back to you. Is there anybody else that's came on board since? No. All right, no further activity online, virtually? Going once, going twice, nobody in attendance here? Okay. And that will conclude the verbal decision of by the committee. What direction would the committee like to take with this application? So I'll be looking for somebody to bring a motion forward, either in favor or opposed. The recommendation is obviously on the agenda, or you can present anything else that you wish. Go ahead, Member Hutch, or Townsend, sorry.
Can I ask one more question of Planner Smith before we go to the motion? Or
Yes, I will allow that. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
I just want to, I guess, be clear on this section about whether there's been other severances not denied on this property. Are you aware of anything? Like, I know we as a committee have not heard anything with that property. Do you in your records in the planning department, has this property come up before severance and been denied?
So I'll answer it two ways. Number one is you just mentioned, number one, you've been probably sitting on the committee adjustment for a number of years. I can't tell you whether or not one's been denied. The other part of our business is that we certainly do a number of inquiries or pre-submission consultations over the years. People will ask about something. And we have sometimes any number of weird and wacky kind of things where we say, well, I don't think so, right? So I can't say whether or not the planning department over the years had correspondence or verbal in particular with an individual regarding these properties. We don't keep that kind of records in that regard. And then the other part of whether or not there was ever a formal application, yourselves have sit on the committee of adjustment for a number of years. And as you mentioned, I don't believe so either.
Would you like to have before I've already kind of moved on to, I will allow that, but we're already kind of moved on, but absolutely. Go ahead. And I'm going to allow this, but I've closed that. We moved to 5.3. I am going to allow it to go back to 5.2.2, but this will be it because again, I've moved on and we are at the decision stage. So there isn't a motion on the floor yet. So I certainly will allow that. Go ahead. And if you could just state your name for the record and the floor is yours, sir.
I just want to confirm the discussion about previous in reference to Doug's question. When the grind farm came up for sale, technically it was offered to us first.
I'm sorry, sir, if I may interrupt, I know who you are and most of us do. I just need you to state your name for the
Okay.
record. So
And
for those in virtual.
Part of the discussion was that we would sever the east 100
Mr. Scriven,
acres.
sorry, I just need you to state your name for the record, sir.
I'm sorry.
Please state your name for the
Oh,
record because
I
we have
thought you knew my
virtual-
name.
I know who you are. The virtual people in attendance don't. So thank you.
Bill Scriven. Okay, to start again. The grind farm was offered to us. Part of the consideration with those kind of finances would be to sever the east 100 acres. We called the planning department twice and no, we did not apply formally because we were told by the planning department we would just be wasting our time. I just want to make that clear. Secondly, I called about a severance off of 75 acres for my wife and I to build a house. Again, I was told, you're just wasting your time. There was a severance on that property in the 30s or 40s, and only one severance is allowed on that property. So I just want to clear, no, we did not formally apply because we were told we would just be wasting our time. Okay? And part of our, since then, we have purchased other farms, but part of our deal there was that we had somebody that was going to buy that 100. We would take the rest and rent it back. So I just want to clear that we were told by the planning department verbally, and I agree verbally, that it would just be a waste of our time to do that. Secondly, although I realize this present application with the deviation in the lot line is to accommodate one of your council members' plan to get it up to 40 hectares. It deviates from the lot lines prescribed by the province. And I doubt, regardless of conversation, that the planning department, the registry office will grant this. Secondly, there is no survey on this property for this deviation. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
You can override.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you. Okay, again, we have concluded the verbal comments section, 5.2, 5.2.1, 5.2.2. That takes us back to 5.3. And I am looking for the decision by the committee. So what direction would the committee like to take with this application? So again, we have a recommendation in front of us, or you can introduce anything that you may wish to introduce. Committee members. Member Eccles, the floor is
Go
yours.
ahead. Lot done on this. Recommendation is in front of us, so I'll move the recommendation as presented.
I have that moved, the recommendation that's in front of us by Member Eccles. Is there a seconder for this motion as presented? Member Forster, you're going
I'll
to.
second it to
going
put
to
it on the
second
floor.
that? Okay, so we haven't moved and seconded. The motion is on the floor now. Open for, again, to the motion specifically. Does anybody have any comments or questions, or would like to speak to the recommendation? Okay, seeing none, we're all clear on the recommendation. Have a question? Okay, so we'll call the motion. All those in favor, if you could raise your hand, please. Let's see, 2 members in favor and those opposed. Let's see, 3 members opposed. And again, we have Councillor Hutchinson is declared. Councillor Shea, or Member Shea, sorry, Member Hutchinson is declared. Member Shea's not here. That vote is defeated 3-2. So I guess the next steps would be item number 5.4. I have to go to Planner Smith for next steps, sir, please.
Mr. Chairman, the planning department will issue a notice of decision on the application. The notice is appealable by,
Gentlemen, excuse me, I'm just, Planner Smith has the floor. Go ahead.
the planning department will issue a notice of decision on the application. The notice in the Bishop case will note that it was refused. We will ask that the mentioned by the clerk to me just a minute ago, that the committee provide reasons for the refusal, so that we can put that in decision as required. On the other side, when we do approvals, we do use the report in some respects as the reason why, in terms of the conformity with the provincial planning statement, conformity with the official plan. So in this particular case, we will ask a committee to further deliberate and provide their reasons for refusal on the application. The notice will then go to the property owners, the applicants, who will have 20 days or so, whatever it is, to determine whether or not to appeal the decision. If there's no appeal, then the decision of the Committee of Adjustment stands.
Thank you, Planner Smith, for your detailed response. Now, as far as that for the formality, I guess we can collect after the meeting. We can have a discussion with we can, the ones that don't, or how do you want that handled? Member Eccles, I was just looking for advice on that.
The reasons have to be in the minutes of this meeting, from my understanding, so they've got to be given now, today, so they can be entered into the minutes of the meeting.
Thank you. And that's what I was trying to flesh out. I appreciate that, Member Eccles. So that's open to the ones that were opposed. And we'll start with Member Noon, please. Apologize. Clerk Eckenspiller.
Through the chair, if I may, just procedurally, just to make sure that everything is very clear within the minutes. Committee did not approve the application. That's evident based on the decision that was just made. However, with respect to the reasons for the refusal, I think what would be appropriate is if committee is interested in refusing the application, a member making a motion to that effect and noting the reasons why in that motion so that we can capture that robustly in the minutes.
Okay, so clearly just go to one of the opposing is what you're asking, or the ones that did not support Clerk Eckenspiller for clarity.
Through the chair, yes, that would work if a member who was not opposed to or who was opposed to approving the recommendation as it was stated, if that member or one of those members wanted to put forward a motion to formally refuse the application and list the reasons why, that would be appropriate.
Okay, and then, okay, thank you for the clarity. Again, this is new grounds for us. And I apologize for not having the knowledge of that, but again, this is something that's brand new. I've been sitting here for almost 7 years and it's brand new. So, Member Noon, if you want to make some comments, please, or
Okay, I know Planner Smith mentioned all these sections and so on and so forth, and being new on council, and I apologize, not understanding all the terminologies for this. But based on this application, since it's come forth since last October, this is the third time it's been tweaked. And I asked a question at the last meeting when it came to the B-22-2024, if they could bring that forward at another time. And I was concerned about that. And I was told by Planner Smith that at no time would you ever deny someone bringing that proposal forward again, or any other, when it came to this parcel of land. So my concern is, being it's been changed and like deferred twice, what's saying something's not coming forward again that is maybe meets all the requirements, but it's just understanding the process. I just don't feel that it's been done properly, that the initial application should have had their I's dotted, their T's crossed, but it didn't do that. It just was deferred and deferred. I just feel that I feel I can't accept this proposal the way it's been brought forward. Thank you.
thank you. Clerk Eckenspiller, for record, would you like one additional comment, sir, or are you satisfied with that?
Through you, Chair, I'm not certain I fully grasped the planning justification for the refusal based on that. I'm hoping that Member Noon can provide some clarity. I just wasn't able to fully articulate what you were trying to suggest.
Thank you.
Well, I just feel that I'd be biased to say that what's stopping these applicants from trying to do something more severances down the road and be accepted. I just think it's been changed 3 times now. It's gone from 2 severances to 1. And I just think that it could come forward again. Like they just kept changing it to get at least 1 more severance to bring it. And what's stopping them from coming forward again, from doing it again?
If I may, Mr. Chair, obviously the refusal was majority of the members, yourself and other councillor, committee member. Perhaps you would also weigh in terms of committee members, Noon's committees, comments, and wish to elaborate on your own or whatever it is in that respect. And they'll assist staff in terms of how we can.
Absolutely. I will go to Member Townsend, and then if need be, Clerk Eckenspiller, you had a comment, or okay, I will go to Member Townsend and see if we can have enough information there provided. Go from there. Member Townsend.
Thank you. And I guess my objection hinges on the moving of that lot line. If that lot line we've heard that it could be done, has been done before. I don't know. I'm not a planning expert that way, but to move off, to vary off the lot lines that are there now, to have that moved when there's been no survey done or anything like that, that to me is my reasoning. That is, if I had that piece of information that it had been surveyed and approved, then more information, it would have been more information I could have used to not vote against this decision.
You're satisfied with that response, or are you looking for more?
You know,
I'm looking at you
both,
like-
both committee members have provided, their reasoning,
Right.
but, it's not in our position at the moment to kick to,
No, I'm just
you know, we
making
will-
sure that it's clear. I
right,
want
we'll
to make
have
sure.
to, because we'll have to put it down in some kind of written form, as you can
Yes.
imagine, within that. So, whatever, the committee members can assist us in that will allow us to, properly write a notice. Thank you.
It's fine, it's fine. Clerk Eccles, go ahead, sir.
Through your chair, so what I gathered from member Noon and member Townsend, and please correct me if I have misstated what you were trying to articulate. One of the reasons is the number of severances off the property. Is that correct, member Noon?
The way it was initially proposed, yes. And then went from 2 severances down to 1, and then altering that last severance to accommodate it to a 40 hectare.
So through the chair, the number of severances initially proposed on the property, is that accurate? Okay. And the adjustment of the lot line from the original crown lot line, does that capture? So based on that, a potential motion for refusal would be that in consideration of the report, the Committee of Adjustment hereby refuses consent application B21-2024 for the following reasons. 1, the number of severances initially proposed on the property, and 2, the adjustment of the lot line from the original crown lot line.
So you're looking for, that's a motion on the floor. I assume you're going to be wanting a movers, and well, I will be looking for a mover and a seconder for that motion that Eccles Feller just drafted for us. So pardon me. Well, I have that moved by member Noon, seconded by member Townsend. So we're all clear on what this motion is. This motion it's a summary of the reason for to deny the application is what's before us. Does everybody like it read back, or are we clear? Okay. Seeing that, so we'll call the vote. All those in favor of the motion is on the floor. See 3 in favor, those opposed. To see 2 opposed, so that motion is carried.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. And I apologize everyone for, what we went through there, but again, that's brand new waters for myself. And thank goodness we had member Eccles here to kind of assist me with flushing out the decision of what we needed. So with that does conclude that application number 5. That moves us on to number 6. The application is number B02-2025. Oh, excuse me.
Bit of a recess.
Absolutely. And I was going to call, so we're going to take 5 good with you?
Right.
We're going to take 5 minutes here and then we'll come back. So 5-minute recess for everyone virtually and in attendance. So right now, come back at 2:55, please. I'd like to call the meeting back to order. And we do have Ms. Noble, are we live? I'm good to go over on your side there virtually. Yes. We do have quorum as there's enough members in attendance. Again, for those that are just joining us, Member Shea is away at another meeting this afternoon. And again, we do have quorum. Member Eckers is here. He'll be joining us shortly. It's just out having a brief meeting. So we're calling it back to order at 2:56. That takes us to application number B02 2025 3110 Highway 6. And our next item is 6.1, and that will be the report from the planning staff. And I'm going to ask Planner Smith to please advise your summary on this application, including any information you may have received up to the start of today's meeting. Planner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you mentioned, B02 2025 for 250-5289 Ontario Inc. Deverell and Lamash is the consultants for the application. The application is for a 6.7 meter wide easement for stormwater drainage in favor of what we call the dominant lands. That's the lands requesting the easement over the west end of the servient lands. That's the lands subject to the easement. And I'll ask Ashley if you can bring up page 95 of 113 in the PDF. On the screen in the committee room and online is a draft, is a previously registered survey, and showing on the far left of the screen, the west side of the property, that's what the servient property is what we call it, is a 6.7 meter wide easement. That 6.7 meter wide easement already exists in favor of what's known as the Mount Forest home hardware building. So this particular easement will be used by two properties for stormwater. It's not for driving over, it's not for access per se, it's to deal with stormwater management problems. The municipal address of the servient lands, 311050 Highway 6 with frontage onto Watson Drive and Highway 6. That's the lot on the corner. And the municipal address of the dominant lands located in Mount Forest, Wellington North, is identified as 535 Main Street North with frontage onto Highway 6. Just for your information, there's a new dentistry office proposed on the dominant lands within Mount Forest. The servient lands are designated industrial business park settlement area in the Grey County official plan. And as I mentioned, the lands proposed for the easement are already being used for stormwater for Young's Home Hardware Building Center. The approval of this second easement will not have any impact over any existing easement rights. We circulated the application to various agencies, including West Grey Public Works, Building Fire, County of Grey, all have no concerns. The Ministry of Transportation, they've issued a building and land use permit for 535 Main Street, which takes a look into, in some respects, to how stormwater is going to be dealt with overall. We've received no comments or concerns from the public as of the date of the writing report or as of today's meeting. We took a look at the provincial planning statement. In general, the PPS 2024 is silent on easements, other than talking about stormwater management to be provided in places where you have development. We take a look at the Grey County official plan. And again, the Grey County official plan is silent on easements in particular, although it does require stormwater management on properties in order to adequately dispose of stormwater. The easement would assist the property in North Wellington, Mount Forest in doing so. In terms of the West Grey zoning bylaw, the property, the servient lands are zoned M1472. But there are no existing buildings or structures on the property at the moment or on the easement itself. There won't be any buildings allowed to be built on the easement. It is a swale drainage ditch, and that's what its purpose will be for in the long term. And that's why it's the applicants, the property owners themselves, who are requesting the easement in favor of their neighbors. In that regard, we recommend as per the recommendation of the report that the Committee of Adjustment approve application B02 2025. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. That takes us to verbal comments, 6.2. And there's two parts again for those that have joined us virtually. First one is committee members' comments, followed by the public comments. So 6.2.1, committee members, do you have any comments, questions at this time? Member Hutchinson, the floor is yours, sir. Go ahead.
Just like to, just referencing the aerial and street view PDF. Just clarification on the two parcels that it shows there and where the stormwater ditch is. Can we bring that up? Actually, the aerial and street view PDF?
Page 97, 113, please.
Maybe our planner can just clarify. There's a red square, a rectangle, and then there's a blue one, and I'm not sure.
With Mr. Chair, we're looking at street view on the screen at the moment. So the top picture is taken
Sorry,
from.
oh, that's not the right one.
Okay, we'll start with the street view, and then we'll go
Okay.
back right one page right there. Yeah. All right. So the red property is where the new dentistry office is going to. That is what we call the dominant lands. And the blue property is the one that the easement is going to be on. The red property is in Mount Forest, North Wellington, and the blue property is in West Gray.
And the easement is
Over the
between
far
or on
west
the
end
west
of the blue
side?
property.
West side?
West end, yes.
West end, okay. All right,
The easement runs roughly southeast to northwest, north-south.
all right, thank you.
Thank you. Follow up, Member Hutchinson, or you got, okay? Other comments, questions from the committee before I turn it to the public? Member Eccles, go ahead, sir.
Did I read this right, that it's going to be registered? Survey is going to be done and this will be registered at the Land Titles Act? For the land titles?
So the survey is already done. It's going to be exactly the same. So you can use the previous survey. So the survey part does, but there will be a new easement in favor of the dominant lands. Yes, registered against the corner property.
So that will be registered on title.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's registered almost in the same way that you would register a consent, just slightly different wording.
But that portion of it will have to be probably surveyed going forward and put into the registry title. I just hope they do it on the property line, that's all.
The survey that's provided does show that it follows the property lines on the west side. It's roughly a long narrow rectangle in this particular case. It doesn't need to be, but it just happens to be the way that the ditch happens to exist on the property. So, and they happen to have a survey on the front end, so that was of use.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions from the committee? I see none. 6.2.2 is public comments. And Ms. Noble, if you have anybody, well, you explain to anybody that would be in attendance there virtually, how they can participate, and then I will turn it to anybody in attendance here. So go ahead, please.
As noted, at the opening of the meeting, public participation must be done through Zoom. Members of the public joining virtually wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so in one of two ways. If you have joined via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. This will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, *9 can also be used to lower your hand. If you have joined virtually, you can either raise your hand by clicking either the blue or yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to myself, West Gray Communications, either stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read into the record on your behalf.
You have nobody? Okay. No comments either. Okay, anybody in attendance here today inside live that would like to have a comment on this application? Seeing none, that will complete item number 6.2 in completion. That takes us to 6.3, decision by the committee. What direction would the committee like to take with this application? Member Eccles, go ahead, sir.
Move the recommendation is presented.
And thank you. Was there a seconder, please? Member Hutchinson. Thank you, sir. Is everybody clear on the recommendation? Have any comments, questions about that before we call the vote? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, you can raise your hand, please. I see all members in favor. There's none opposed. That motion has carried. Over to Planner Smith for 6.4. Next step, sir.
The planning department will issue a notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment on the easement. The agencies and other selected groups would have the opportunity to appeal if they are not in agreement with the decision. At the end of the appeal period, if there are no appeals, then the applicants can come forward with the documents to finalize the registration of the easement.
Thank you, Planner Smith. That completes item number 6. Last item on our last application on our agenda is application number B03 2025 and B04 2025 -521-106 concession 12 NDR. Item number 7.1 is the report from Planner Smith. If you could just please read your report on this application, including any comments or correspondence we received up to the start of today's meeting. Planner Smith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Application B03 2025 and B04 2025. The property owner is Camp with the planning consultant is Ron Davidson. We have 2 consent applications being reviewed at the same time during this public meeting. Purpose of the application is to sever 2 lots. Severed lot 1, approximately 1.05 hectares in size, and a severed lot 2 of approximately 0.8 hectares in size, and to retain approximately 38.75 hectares. I'll ask Ashley if you could bring up page 107 of 113 in the PDF, please. On the screen in the committee room and available to the general public is a sketch of the 2 proposed severances. The Planning Act does not require a registered plan to be submitted in terms of a consent. It only requires a sketch. And in this particular case, we have the 2 severances, as I mentioned, severed lot 1 and severed lot 2. Severed lot 2 in the upper right-hand corner of the current lot, and then severed lot 1 kind of free-floating around an existing part being where the house and various buildings and structures are on the property. The below up shows the severed lot 1 with the existing buildings and structures and their setbacks to the proposed red lot lines. And as again, I mentioned, we don't have a survey at this particular time, just the sketch. The only one that would follow the lot lines in this particular case would be partly the severed lot 2 along the one side. Going forward, an easement is also requested in favor of severed lot 1 for access to an existing hydroelectrical line. The reason for that is that the hydroelectrical line does not goes on an angle from the roadway, doesn't follow straight up the proposed driveway. So rather than taking in the amount of currently cropped agricultural land, they'll provide them an easement underneath the electrical lines to access both the poles and the hydro lines. Municipal address 521106, concession 12 NDR. The lot is designated rural land use and hazard in the County of Grey official plan with significant woodlands and a natural heritage system constraint features on the lot. Property is zoned A2 rural and natural environment. A zoning bylaw amendment application is required for both severed lots and is conditioned of provisional consent for both of them. In this particular case, the county planning ecologist of the opinion that an environmental impact assessment is not required concerning where the constraint features are on the property in relationship to the 2 severances. We circulated the application to the various agencies, including West Grey Public Works, Building and Fire. Public Works just noted that both lots will have to have an approved entrance permit and a civic address. County of Grey have noted staff's opinion that potential impact on natural heritage could be negligible. And again, an environmental impact study can be waived. County planning staff have no concerns with the application. In terms of the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, they also find the application to be acceptable. At the time of writing the report, we had not received any concerns or letters. However, we did receive a letter today from budding property owners who are, I quote, "We are opposed to the severance. We are in a farming community. We would like to build a barn on our farm in the future, which is beside the farm that Mr. Boerkamp wants to sever." In this particular case, the letter writers own a budding farm parcel to the east, I think it is, sorry, a budding, right, in that regard. So that is the only letter of opposition we received in regards to public comments. We reviewed the application versus the provincial planning statement 2023-2024 in regards to development in a rural area, development in regards to natural heritage features, and in regards to overall the application in that regard. Reviewed the application against the Grey County official plan. Again, the lands are designated rural and hazard. There are significant woodland and natural heritage linkages on the property. Part of the land is within, again, the Saugeen Valley regulated area. There's no development proposed within the hazard lands, nor within the significant woodlands or within the natural heritage system linkage. All those, the two properties are outside of those areas. In terms of section 543 consent policies that do allow for limited lot creation, provided the total number of parcels on the original 40-hectare Crown Survey Township lot does not exceed 4, including the retain. The creation of the 2 new lots, Severed Lot 1 and Severed Lot 2, would meet the official plan lot density requirements. New lots created in the rural area to be at least 0.8 hectares in size and to generally have a maximum of a 1-to-3 ratio of lot frontage to depth. Both lots will meet the minimum required lot size of 0.8. Severed Lot 1 is proposed meters. That does not meet the 1-to-3 ratio. However, the size, the roadways and or water bodies is still overall maintained. What I'm getting at here is that the 1-to-3 frontages along lakes, so on and so forth, where we don't get really narrow frontages for so that everybody gets a little bit of beach, but you get your depth or your lot area by being really, really long. That's why the 1-to-3 is, in my opinion, and comes into play. Here, the 1-to-3 isn't really a great way to do that because we will end up losing active farmland. The applicants do believe that having a flag lot will allow them to keep the farmland, but also provide a sufficiently large enough parcel for the severance itself. Section minimum distance separation formula. There's an existing dwelling on Severed Lot 1 and the proposed Severed Lot 2. To the north and the other are abutting to the west. Areas and linkages states that no development or site alteration shall occur within 120 meters of the feature. As I mentioned, the county does not believe that an environmental impact study would be required in this particular case. In terms of the comments from the next door neighbors, in terms of opposed to the severance, they would like to build a barn. In this particular case, the property that they have is over 100 acres in size, slightly over 100 acres in size. But there are already residential buildings or lots in proximity to their property. In fact, 2 right across the road from them. Those buildings currently provide or limit their MDS calculations to begin with in terms of the 2 severances at the moment take into consideration existing barns. It does not require to take a look at somebody who may want to build a barn in 2 weeks, 2 years, or 20 years. It looks at what is in existence today, and it is required to have MDS requirements. Otherwise, you wouldn't have any building because somebody would always be saying, I want to build a barn. When? I don't know, whenever I feel like it. So in this particular case, their concerns are noted. They probably, depending on the size of the barn, do have a large enough farm parcel that they should still be able to find room for it on their own farm parcel, maybe not next to their house. And that's already limited again, as I mentioned, by 2 existing residential lots immediately to the north of their property. Reviewed the application in terms of the municipality West Grey zoning bylaw. Lands are zoned A2 and natural environment. Severed Lot 1 will not meet the requirements of the A2 zone. as outlined in the planning report. Severed lot 2 would in general conform to our reduced lot area regulations, but overall, in terms of the size and so on and so forth, it would be in keeping with our overall intent of the bylaw. In that regard, I do find that the application does maintain the intent and purpose of the West Gray zoning bylaw. I recommend that the application is proposed in to the council, to committee B03-2025 and B04-2025, and the conditions as provided in the report be approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Planner Smith. Quite a bit on that application for sure. So that takes us to 7.2 verbal comments. And again, there's 2 sections of this: committee members followed by the applicant or agent public. So excuse me. Verbal comments, committee members. Do you have any comments or questions at this time? Member Hutchinson, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm just curious. So it looks like the original farm house and barns and whatever was on this lot was there. And now they're severing that chunk off plus another lot. I'm curious why that happened. Is the rest of the property farmland? Is it being farmed at this time? And I'm curious why they would sever that off if being farmed unless it's rented out. And then my other question would that be, so somewhere down the line, if we take these 2 lots off, that someone could come along and decide to build a house on the retained parcel. Is that correct?
So let's start with the reasons why we don't need to in this particular case. As the lands are designated rural, they automatically come with the ability, I guess you can use that word under the official plan, to sever. The only time where there is a condition where you need to prove various things is if the parcel was in the agricultural designation and you need to provide that you were a bona fide farmer and that the house was surplus to your needs. That doesn't apply here because it's rural. Okay, it's within the number of severances provided under the county official plan for rural, and therefore you don't need to justify why you want it. In terms of building on the retain, yes, you can build on the retain in that particular case. The MDS calculations may apply to the new houses. We did take a look again at the MDS for both of the lots, right? So for lot 1, severed lot 2, since it's vacant, we had to apply it. And the 7 to the 2 existing barns that does meet. Since there's already a house on severed lot 1, the MDS actually doesn't apply because the restriction, quote unquote, is already there. When they wish to rebuild on the retained will be like severed lot 2, in which they'll have to show conformity with MDS.
Follow up, Member Hutch? No, good. Okay, Member Eccles, go ahead, sir.
In the rural zone, just for my clarification, 3 severances plus the retained? Or is it 4 plus the retained?
It's 3 plus the retained, so 4 when you come.
Yeah. So we could see, what the potential is, we could see another application for a severance on this property because of that.
Yeah, in terms of numbers, there's other considerations to be looked at, but we start with the numbers, so.
Other comments or questions from the committee members? Member Forrester, go ahead, sir.
Okay, my comments about the lot shape of lot number 1, they did it to save agricultural land, but with all those jaunts in and out and the size of the machinery today and the hydro easement, they're not going to gain 2 acres of farmland because you're going to have all the corners you aren't going to be able to get into.
So if you bring up the air photo, page 108 of 113, please. I don't have a copy of this meeting, so we might take a look at the differences. In many cases, that a farmer who's buying a parcel come to an understanding, especially on the parcel itself, between what he's gonna keep as as lawn in order to make the spouse happy, you know what I mean? Keep away from the bedroom windows, then what is gonna go into the corner problem.
I get what you mean.
So a lot of the times we do try to follow those patterns as long as we end up with a lot that's sufficiently large. I think it's established that, if you know what I mean. Some, my in-laws, for example, it's the same way. They have a very long driveway and they crop in front of the house. There's certainly more than enough lawn in front of the house, but it doesn't run all the way to the roadway. That makes these large equipment. So, taking a look at their jobs in and out, yes, it's not exactly the lines. Their problems have been quite innovative in terms of the house. Sorry, other side with a push in a lot of areas. I do think they're also trying to keep down, not a land going for severance, because it also has an impact on price in terms of. Talking for. Could start again. Sorry, Counselor, committee member. Said in general, try to follow the existing cropping lines where farmers have decided where to stop at a property and where not to, provide just enough setback to buildings so we don't have a combine that's taken off the gutters, but not taking too much. And then on this particular property on the woodlot side, I think they're also trying to look at how much to take into a severance because it also has an impact on its price for being sold. So if you take in land, it's not really of value to the severance, it also increases its price. So I think there's a number of things being balanced off here overall, is what I think we're seeing. And it's not perfect, but it's, you know, I don't need square lots. Let's put it that way. Okay. It can be surveyed and it can be surveyed and it has been proven to be surveyed. It can be farmed and the applicants believe in this particular case, it's in their best interests.
Thank you. Follow-up? Yeah, any other comments, questions from the committee members? Okay, that completes that. Thank you. That will take us. Please let anybody know that's attending virtually how they can participate. We'll do the virtual and then from there we'll turn it to anybody live in attendance. Ms. Noble.
As noted at the opening of the meeting, public participation must be done through Zoom. Members of the public joining virtually wishing to participate in this portion of the meeting may do so in one of two ways. If you have joined via phone, press *9 to raise your hand. This will let us know that you would like to speak. Alternatively, yellow hand icon located in the bottom corner of your screen, or by sending a chat message to myself, West Grey Communications, either stating that you would like to speak or what you would like read into the record on your behalf.
Ms. Noble, and I apologize. Do you have anybody that would like to speak to this? It's attendance in virtually. I do see one applicant or one member on the member of the public online. That's Mr. Davidson. You just state your name for the record. Of course, we all know who you are, but state it for anybody attending virtually, and the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Ron Davidson. I'm a planning consultant and I'm representing the Boerkamps. I filed the 2 consent applications. Hopefully our technology holds out all afternoon. The last hour and a half it's been cutting in and out. The audio has been. So if there's some delay and when I go to answer one of your questions, it's maybe because I didn't hear it. But anyway, I shall be brief. So the Boerkamps are bona fide farmers. They own a few farms in the area. This is what they do for a living. And they want to sever off two lots. The question was asked why, and like David, I typically don't ask my clients why they want to do this. The first one's easy. I mean, they're severing off the house because they don't need a house. And the official plan allows it to do that. Why are they severing off a second property that's vacant? Again, I didn't ask them that question, but I think it's safe to say, and this maybe not what people want to hear, but farms are expensive. And in order to pay the mortgage, You do sometimes what you have to do, and that involves, in this case, severing off a second lot. Again, maybe that's not the right answer, but it's the truth and it's reality. And we see that all across Grey County. I know at one time there were a certain group that would not sever land. They wanted to keep the large farm parcels intact. And now we see them across Grey County filing severance applications again in order to pay for the farm. This proposal conforms 100% with the Grey County official plan. It checks all the boxes, and it is consistent with the provincial planning statement. A zoning bylaw amendment, as David indicated, is required. I filed that application, and I believe it's going to be on a near future council agenda. Regarding the shape of the property, one of the councillors asked the questions. The amount of farmland that's being actively farmed will not change just as a result or simply because we're putting lot lines around it. The area photograph clearly shows crop patterns, if you will, and that won't change. You can farm underneath hydro lines. You just can't obviously farm where the hydro poles are because they're in the way. So really nothing is changing in that regard. I didn't know about the neighbor's concern. David said that came up this morning. I agree with what he had to say. You can't refuse an application based on what a farmer might do in the future. Again, maybe it's not the right answer, but it is definitely first come, first serve in terms of whether or not you're severing a lot off or just building a house on an existing lot. When you do that, it does impact on where the neighbor can build a barn, pardon me. And conversely, if the neighbor builds his barn first, it impacts where he can build a house. But again, this does conform with the official plan. And as David indicated, there are already some restraints on that adjacent farm property in terms of where the farmer can build his barn in the future based on other houses that already exist in the area. So I won't say anything more about that. Mr. Chair, that's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson. Okay, is there anybody else virtually that has any comments or questions, Ms. Noble? No? Is there anybody in attendance here that would have a comment regarding this? Go ahead, sir. Just press the middle button if you could, and then just state your name for the record. And once you do that, the floor is yours. Middle gray button, see it there? Oh, just on the main box.
Yep.
There you go, you're live. Just state your name and again, the floor is yours.
My name's Robert Kipfer, and we own the property directly across the road from where he wants to do the sever. And we are in the process of buying the property directly east of that one. So it'd be the two properties across the road, one directly across, the one to the east. And we have the offer in and it's accepted. It isn't done yet. Anyway, I'm concerned because on that property we're purchasing, there is already 2 lots severed off that farm, which already restricts us from putting buildings on that farm to a certain degree. What I'm very concerned about is if there's a house goes directly across the road, am I going to be able to build a barn at all? Because, this is a farming community, it's prime farmland, and that's what we want to do is farm. If we're going to have houses built where we can't build barns, that really restricts us to what we can do. So, unless I can be assured that it's not going to affect where I can build a barn on them 2 properties, I'm fine with it. But if it's going to restrict it all where we can build barns, I'm very much opposed to it because it's prime farmland and our people like to buy 100-acre farms for a family farm. Most families build a barn on the farm and that's how they make a living. If we have farmers that buy farm after farm and keep removing the houses from them and severing the houses and putting other houses on them, that really restricts what we like to do it's for family farms. So that's all I have to say.
Anybody else in attendance that really have that has a comment or statement or a question? Seeing none, you have nobody else back to virtually? No, okay. So that will conclude the comment period. That takes us to 7.3. Yes, Member Hutchinson, I have
Can
kind
I
of
just go
closed that,
from-
but it'll be brief because I have
Can I
closed
just
it.
go
So
now? Okay.
go ahead.
So just a question for the planner. So the restrictions on the barns, the MDS is 750 meters? No, from the house?
Right, so what we do is we ask with an application for information on MDS calculations on existing barns within 750 meters.
Right.
It's usually a big enough number that captures the size and so on and so forth. So the 750 has got nothing to do with what a setback should be. A setback for a barn is based on basically three criteria: how smelly the animal is. So for example, chickens and pigs have a bigger setback than cattle and horses do. Number two, the number of animals. So a barn with 50 chickens has got a smaller setback than a barn with 1,000 head of cattle. And number three is the type of manure systems used, whether it's liquid or solid, whether or not the manure system is underneath the barn, for example, in some pig barns, or whether it's got outdoor storage. So when you begin to combine all those three things, I want to build a barn with chickens. It's going to be broilers. It's going to be, 7,000 or whatever it is, kind of thing like that. It's typically dry manure with some outdoor storage on a pad. The calculus software kicks out a distance, therefore, to a sensitive use based on those numbers. When you change around the numbers, more animals, less numbers, so on and so forth, it changes around the distance setback. So obviously, the bigger the barn, the smaller the animal, liquid, the bigger the setback. So we can't give you a number because it constantly changes with those three parameters.
Right. Okay, so I just wanted the applicant, the gentleman to understand that, and also looking at the map, there are a number of already houses and buildings in that area, so obviously they're going to already restrict what you can do and where you can put this barn, so that's something to keep in mind, I think, if in terms of if we were looking at building in the future. So.
I think you're certainly correct. You also take a look, is it on the 100 acres, the 40 hectares, whatever it is, some places, unfortunately, the barns have to be way at the back. That's just a function of the changes in our landscape in terms of that. Is it perfect? No, it's certainly, people probably like to walk through their barns, but in some cases, they can't anymore. The rural designation where this lands are in, they may look like prime, but as soon as they drop that rural on it, these severances are permitted within the official plan in relationship to barns existing as of the date of the application. So I do think there's still room on the parcels, other parcels, but it may not be where you want it.
Thank you. You had a final comment there, sir? So yes, go ahead. And again, I have closed that part of the agenda, but I'm going to allow it this time, and then I'm going to be going for a decision. So go ahead, sir.
With what's come up there about animal units, where we can put it, I was already working with Leon Martin, a manure strategy planner for that property across the road. And he, from what he give back to me, he said we would be able to put a chicken barn or broiler barn on that property. With regards of moving it back further, I don't think that would work there because there's a river runs through there. So it's really restricted where I can put a barn on that property on a farm. And if there's a house goes across the road, I think it's going to be really restricted a lot more, just from what the manure strategy came through is. Thank you.
For your comments. Okay, so that is concluded for the second time now, the verbal comments. Now I'm at 7.3 and I am looking for a decision. So what decision would the committee like to make with this application? To my left? To my right? Yeah, we have a recommendation by the planner before us, or you can introduce anything that you may wish. Again, I'm looking for a mover to get 7.3 on the floor. Well, I guess the other option is if everyone wants to, but if everybody wants to take a minute, we can just sit back and you want to think about it, but Member Hutch, you had your hand up. Go ahead, please.
Well, I don't like the idea of having to discourage farm practice. And so maybe my suggestion is, can we defer this to have these individuals have some discussions maybe with the farmer across the road about what works and what doesn't work, and whether this is a possibility, and then maybe we revisit it in a later date.
All right, okay. Well, you put in a motion out there to defer, obviously, so I've got a. Is that what you're doing, or you're just kind of throwing out as maybe a thought or a path? Is it, I'm
Yeah,
taking it as, just a kind of a question, or is that an actual motion?
Put it out there open for discussion,
This
I guess.
discussion, so it's not an actual motion, so. Member Eccles, go ahead, sir.
We've got the information in front of us. I think Mr. Smith gave us a very good description a few minutes ago. We could defer everything every time, trying to figure out what may happen 2 weeks down the road, what may happen 2 months down the road when a property sells or closes, or what may be happening 25 years. But in planning, we're doing it with what is here in front of us today. And Mr. Kepfert, I'm pretty sure, knowing that area and whatnot, the restrictions that are already there, this new lot, in my mind, looking at it, is not going to restrict anymore, isn't going to have an impact on the restrictions that are already there with some of the properties, if you're buying that farm to the east. Because there's already the severance, minimum distance. Out. That, I guess, is up for description. How many are in there already? I guess we can sit on it, or we can make a decision. I'm ready to make a decision today with the information we certainly have.
Okay, so I've closed the comment period, sir. Thank you. I apologize, but we do have, we have to stick to what's on the agenda here. Member Townsend, are you introducing, because I've called for decisions, so are you ready to introduce the decision, sir?
I was going to say, can I ask the planner one more question?
Well, then we're going backwards, so
All right,
I, you don't
all
know,
right.
yeah, well, you can, but then I'm gonna have to turn around and we're gonna have to continue to open this up, so, I've asked 3 times and we complete it with that, but if you think it's really going to flush out, maybe make it, you to make it, help make a
Well-
decision. But if that's the case, I am gonna go to you, sir, and this will be it, but if you had a comment, you wanna come to the mic, that'll close yours, then I'll go to you, sir,
Okay.
and that will complete it. So if you have a comment, and this is, it, we are going to 7.3, folks, for a decision, so.
They're not building.
And I'm gonna allow your question, Member Townsend, and then it will be decision. Go ahead, sir.
Just a question for the planner. If that house goes in that corner, the property without the building, what has the other 2 lots severed in that corner, what is the minimum distance? How far would I go back, or would we get into the river? That's, I think it really limits to what I can do there. And I guess that would determine whether I can buy this farm or not, because if I can't build a barn on it, I guess it's not a lot of good to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'll just, Planner Smith, kind of hard to make a decision because there's probably some NE and some conservation, et cetera, et cetera. So anyways, you may have a general answer possibly, but I'm not gonna say that. You can just respond to that one if you had. Oh, sorry. There you go. Okay, I see you, John. All right, Planner Smith.
I ask Ashley to bring up pictures again, and it might be of some use. We're gonna look at air photos and just to see what, understand what's going on in the general area. We didn't zoom out far enough, but it's, it might be a start. And on your package itself, you go to 109, 110. So I'm in the PDF, sorry, myself. I'm not too sure which ones you're using. Those are the air photos we provided with the application. They're not exactly perfect for this. If I understand correctly, that the farm directly to the north across concession 12 NDR is owned by the gentleman. To the east or west, please? East. That's one with the two lots severed off of it. Right. So every house has an impact on MDS, right? It's as simple as that, right? So we have the existing farmhouse, the one severed lot 1. It has an impact today. The lot to the on the same side of the roadway to the east, owned by Ezra Kipfer and Clara Kipfer, has a house on it too. It plays into the consideration. Adding severed lot number 2, okay, which is the vacant one, which I guess is where we're at. In terms of MDS, it will have an impact, all right, because it's closer than the existing houses. Okay. So it's closer than the one that exists, severed lot 1. The new severed lot 2 would be closer, if I can put it that way, to the property across the roadway. Okay, that's the one I'm going to focus on, just the one across the roadway to the north. Okay, so severed lot 2 is closer than anything else. Okay, so that has an MDS impact to that. As I mentioned before, however, that lot to the north also has about 480 meters until you get to the wooded area on the property, which is not a tiny amount. It may not be perfect for individuals, but as I pointed out, there is room to the north on the that property owned by a Mr. Kipfer within the 480 before you get to the river. Right? I can't guarantee though that he's going to get a barn still because I still have no idea how big and so on and so forth or what the calculations are. But I can tell you there's 480 meters from the roadway till you get to the wooded feature that's available on that lot. So, yeah, I'm not going to guarantee it. I can tell you right now, the application, and as pointed out, Mr. Davidson, checks all the current today boxes.
Okay, thank you. Hope that's answered your question to the best of the ability because there's a lot of factors there. So, Member Townsend, sir, you do have the final question before we go to decision.
Great, no problem. And I guess my question's for Planner Smith. So, and using our broiler analogy, it's kind of a chicken and egg thing here. If we grant the severance for that lot up in the corner, and they just have it a lot severed, but never build on it for 20 years. And this gentleman, it wouldn't affect the MDS if this gentleman built a barn across the road, but then when that person went to build on that severed lot, then that severed lot would technically be useless because of MDS. Is that, you kind of following my line of thought there? Like kind of a chicken and egg thing, who builds first?
At the moment, well enough to say that whether or not the building department has to take into consideration the vacant residential size lot or not in terms of who's there first. Okay, in that regard. Yeah, I can't say without having to delve into the book.
Good question. All right. Thank you. So again, I am at requesting 7.3 that we're looking for a decision by the committee. So we got the recommendation in front of us, unless you want to introduce something else. So one of the members, please raise your hand and the floor is yours to bring a motion forward. Member Eccles, sir, go ahead. No, you got
Question
appointed.
just brought up.
Okay, so I will,
Clarification,
yeah,
I think the CBO is right here,
all right.
dealing with MDS. and-
Good afternoon, sir.
Wondered if our CBO could clarify something on that question, last question asked,
Okay, so,
professional opinion.
well, welcome. So, the floor is
Thank you,
yours, sir.
Chair. So our current zoning bylaw, if there's no, the barn would be required to meet MDS two requirements. So that would be to any existing dwelling. If somebody is building a new house, it's what we call MDS one requirements. Our zoning bylaw exempts MDS one requirements from new law, from new houses, although, that could change. I mean, we have new zoning bylaw. What could happen in the future, we don't know. Some municipalities require housing to meet requirements of MDS one. Some don't. So that would be a council decision in the future if we're ever bringing a new zoning bylaw into effect that could affect existing lots of record and things like that, how they required to meet MDS one, but it's two different requirements. And the calculation is different too, based whether it's MDS one versus MDS two. Housing versus barns.
Thank you. We all clear on that? As clear as you can be? Yes? Okay, so again, I'm at 7.3, looking for a decision by the committee. Left, same decision. I want to bring motion forward. Member Eccles, sir, the floor is yours.
Move the recommendation as presented by Mr. Smith.
Okay, thank you. So Member Eccles has moved the recommendation as provided by the planner on the agenda. Everyone's clear of it. It's been circulated. Is there a seconder to support this move, please? Comments or questions on that recommendation that is on the floor? Okay, seeing none, we'll call the vote. All those in favor, raise your hand, please. I see 1, 2, 3, 4 members in favor. Those opposed? I see 2 members opposed. That motion has carried 4-2. And there you go. And item number 7.4, Planner Smith, what are the next steps, please, sir?
Mr. Chair, the planning department will issue a notice of decision on the application. Only agencies and other select bodies will be able to appeal the decision in this particular case. The applicant would have a period of time to fulfill the conditions of draft on the provisional consent, including the zoning, at which point in time they'll be able to bring forward the documents to have it registered after the zoning and so on and so forth is in place. Thank you.
Thank you, Planner Smith. So that actually completes all the applications that we had before us. Item number 8 is the next meeting. The next meeting is Tuesday, April the 1st, 2025 at 2 p.m. Item number 9, I will declare that all the business on today's agenda is complete. I show it as 3:48 and we do stand adjourned at 3:48. Thank you very much.